Heather has made multiple six figures within her Etsy shops, and she has just so much value to give to the YouTube platform and Instagram, TikTok, all of your social media platforms. You just provide so much value, and I'm just so pumped to have you on my channel here today. Today, I am interviewing a very special guest, Heather Studio. Heather, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jenny.
So excited. This is going to be so valuable, jam-packed with great information. And I wanted to get started by asking you, how did you first get interested in print on demand? When did you decide to start selling on Etsy?
Yeah, so my story started back during the pandemic when I was cut hours at the hospital. I worked as a full-time MRI technologist, and during the pandemic, they were cutting parts of or certain departments at the hospital, and one of the departments was imaging and just radiology as a whole. So during that time, when I was cut hours, I realized I needed to find a different side hustle or side income, or just find like a second job during that time to supplement my income. At the same time, when I was cut hours, I bought my first home ever. So I had a really serious amount of money I had to basically pay to make the bills every month at that time. And I just remember I was looking on LinkedIn, I was looking on Indeed just for jobs. And then somehow, miraculously, I stumbled across some YouTube videos about print on demand and the world of Etsy, and just connecting a print on demand company to a new Etsy store, and basically just seeing that and seeing that people actually made that work for their businesses and how they started a few months before or maybe a year before. It really inspired me to just start and pick up in the world of print on demand and Etsy. So I started during 2020 with my first shop, and it actually failed because the production times, due to the pandemic and labor shortages, and I think also labor shortages plus the increase of print on demand and e-commerce just in total, the production times went to 3 to 4 weeks on some of the products I was selling in my Etsy shop that I started with. And I did get a few sales right out the gate, which I was very shocked by. I couldn't believe that random people found me online and they liked my products enough to buy them and the designs I made on those products. So that was really cool because I got a taste of that. And then the production times kicked in, and all of the YouTubers that I watched, all of the communities that I was in, was saying how vital that reviews were in a new Etsy shop. And I was like, okay, 3 to 4 weeks production time is too crazy. I'm going to get the worst reviews starting a new business. So I just decided, hey, maybe this isn't for me right now. And also, I got my hours back at my job. So I was just like, you know what? I got my hours back. I'm fine. I don't need to do print on demand and Etsy. And it wasn't really working for me anyways, just because of the production times. So I closed my shop in 2020, and I kept it closed up until 2021. And during this time, in this period of, like, I'd say the fall time, it was in the fall months, I started feeling sad again after I got my hours back. When, at the beginning of 2020, because of the pandemic, there was that sad feeling too, because I lost my job basically, or I didn't lose it completely, but I was cut hours to the point that I just wasn't going into work at all. And you're just like looking at news all day. And I was kind of having just a difficult time then. And then in the fall time, when the fall time came around, I was having a difficult time in a different way because I got my hours back. I was overworking to the point that I was just like, oh my gosh, there's something in me that's just saying this is just not right for my career still. And I think it was just getting a taste of that initial entrepreneurship in getting sales with my Etsy business that I was like, okay, I gotta try this again, because it just didn't feel like this was my life path anymore once I had the world of print on demand. So anyways, fast forward basically to 2021, I decided to reopen that shop. I started listing, and for the first month in January, I listed like, I want to say it was well over 50 listings on this new shop. I had crickets for sales. I
Mhm.
thought, oh my gosh, I missed my window of time to actually make this work and make this happen. And I just remember in January, I kept looking on Facebook groups, and I was a part of a few Facebook groups for print on demand sellers with Etsy. And a lot of people were posting all of these like huge, massive success stories from 2020. And I'm sitting here like, I completely missed my chance. It was just so discouraging, so disheartening. And
Yeah.
I'm happy I kept my store going because I was close to closing it. And I actually didn't look at it for a week. But one morning I woke up, I heard the cha-ching on my phone. I had one sale at the end of January. It was the last week of January after posting so many listings. And then the next month I had over 30 orders. The next month after that, I hit my first 100 order month. And then from there, by the end of 2021, I hit 250K in revenue, which was
Amazing.
surprisingly a gross profit of 100K, which I was like blown out of the water because I wrote in my journal at the beginning of that year that I would earn 100K in profit. And
Like
that
chills. That's awesome.
yeah. So basically like that's how my story went, and now I'm sitting at 450K in that initial shop. In the past 2.5 years, I've quit my 9 to 5 fully now. I do not work in healthcare anymore. I'm still kind of like, I still have that want and desire to work in healthcare, but
Mhm.
I know like my focus has shifted a lot, and this is kind of the new path I'm on, is helping people in a different way, which is on YouTube
Yeah.
and kind of teaching this skill and on how others can build the skill of starting their own Etsy and print on demand businesses. So it's kind of cool now.
That's so amazing. Honestly, I knew like about half of your story, but I didn't know the part where you like restarted it in January, because January's like, it's a very difficult month for most Etsy sellers. And it's kind of that we're touching on this right now, because anyone who's starting in January, or anyone who has a really big peak for Q4 and then sales kind of go down a little bit in January, just know that it's normal. Most Etsy sellers do see a plummet, or if you're new, it's very hard to get the ball rolling there. But like Heather, like if you could have said, I'm just giving it the month of January, and then on that last day of January, you got that one sale that just like that one cha-ching that kept you moving, which is just so amazing and so inspiring for anybody who is starting. Like, you don't have to start during the most profitable time of the year. You can really start whenever. And it's just basically about like not giving up, because you could have easily given up. You could have given it, one more month and not gotten that sale and closed your shop, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't be where you are right now. So that's super inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Did you have any initial goals in the beginning of your journey? And if so, how have your goals evolved since then?
I did have a, I feel like at the beginning of my journey in 2020, I did not really have set goals. It wasn't like how strong they were when I came back into the game in 2021. In
Mhm.
2020, I had a lot of self-doubt and like just poor self-talk. It was just like, oh, should I start this? Is this really going to work for me?
Mhm.
And I know like a lot of people, like a lot of subscribers I've talked to have had the similar self-doubt. And that's one of the main reasons why I like focus primarily on like mindset now, because I think that's the most important. Like you said
Yeah.
about, I could have closed my shop in January of 2021 and I would have never had a shop. And if I had kept my shop open in 2020, like you said, like that still gets me to this day, is like, what could I have had like a total of like 1 million on like Etsy
Yeah.
and print on demand? Like, it's just like crazy to think about uh,
Mhm.
what could have happened, but also what can still happen is
Yeah.
what I try to think about now. And, um, my first year, I did not have set goals, but it wasn't until 2021 I got out my journal And I literally wrote down, like you said, it gave you chills, but like even when I read that journal back, I was like, I don't remember writing this. Like the first time I reread it, I was like, I really don't remember writing that, because it's just like New Year's resolutions. A lot of
Yeah,
the, like every year, I don't look back at my last year's New Year's resolutions, and I know that's
it
bad
was
of me.
fun.
Yeah. And so I I just thought that was wild that for once my New Year's resolutions actually panned out. Like I wrote that down, and I wrote down like an action plan, and this was different when I wrote down the New Year's resolutions, because I put like action plan. It was like try new niches every week and list 10 listings every week. And this
Mhm.
is like, I've seen, top Etsy shops do this. Also, I'm so sorry. There's a garbage truck going right near.
You're
So
good.
hear that?
No,
I'm
you're good.
Yeah. So I love that you asked that question, because that was the first year that like everything that I wrote down, not everything to a T, but like it was like 80 to 90% of what I wrote down that year actually happened. And I think it's because I put action steps there
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
That's awesome. For sure. For sure. I feel like writing things down is just like putting it out into the universe. Like this is what's going to happen, you know? I do that as well. And it's so fun to go back, like you said, because you're supposed to like set it and forget it, like write it down and forget about it, but like continue to work towards those goals. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, they come true. And if they didn't come true, it's because like it's not meant for you, maybe, or you might have to try a different approach. So you said you started in 2020 and we're now in 2023, almost 2024, crazy. What types of print on demand products would you suggest for anyone who's starting an Etsy print on demand shop now to offer in their shops?
I would say decor right now. I think decor is like the new like future Bella and Canvas 3001.
Yeah.
And I know that's like a big prediction, like
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of out there when I say that, but I think like even ornaments are just doing
Yeah.
so well right now. And that's like a decor piece.
Mhm.
Pillows, blankets. I've
Yeah.
seen those just doing really well. I think the underserved and undersaturated product types mixed
Mhm.
in with what we've known has worked on Etsy. So like instead of a bachelorette party t-shirt, why not a bachelorette party tumbler, or,
Yeah.
other things like that. Just thinking outside of the box is kind of what I've been trying to flow with as the year progresses.
Mhm.
Because I've seen it on my new shop too that I've started recently, is I'm trying products that are outside of my comfort zone, just
Mhm.
to kind of show that, like if you try a different product that you wouldn't have thought of before, or scaling a design that's working
Yeah.
on one product to different products, that's what I've kind of leaned into more. And I'm really like surprised at like the sales. I'm just like, whoa, like I never thought that would sell. And
Yeah.
now it is.
There's so many products to choose, print on demand products to choose from. And I feel like these printing companies are just going to continue to add into their selection. And it's just super exciting because, that's just when people say, oh, Etsy print on demand is oversaturated. I think a lot of times people are thinking of like t-shirts specifically, and where we could get into a whole conversation where yes and no, t-shirts are saturated if you're designing in niches that are oversaturated, but you can still be successful in t-shirts if you're finding those sub niches and the higher search volume, lower competition niches. But I feel like, if you take a tumbler or a pillow or a blanket or some random print on demand product that's not as overly oversaturated on Etsy, you might find that you're successful a little bit faster than the more saturated products. So super interesting. Keep us posted with your new shop too. Heather's sharing her journey with a new print on demand shop. She's sharing that journey on her YouTube channel, which I'm linking in the description below. But she is proving to all of us that we can still start shops in 2023 and be successful. So she's documenting that process and showing you the ins and outs of it. So head over there. How do you do research and decide on popular and trending products within the Etsy marketplace?
I usually go to Etsy, and I have the EVERBEE Chrome extension that I have attached. So when I go on Etsy and I search in the search bar, EVERBEE will populate all that. And I know you've mentioned EVERBEE on your channel, but for
Yeah.
anyone watching the video, Jenny, the link in the description for EVERBEE.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Besides that, I use EVERBEE just to kind of populate my search volumes, and I will see what is highest search volume as far
Yeah.
as showing me trends. Like if I look up mug, if you just type in mug, you'll get 10 different keyword phrases below that. And then EVERBEE will show in a little orange EVERBEE icon, all the different search volumes. And that's kind of what I start with. So, and even putting gift for mom and then seeing what populates after, or gift for insert blank here, that's what I've been doing lately. And that's really led me on the path to what's trending. And then once that populates, I'll click in and I'll do the, I always forget what it's called, but I do like the analytics, and then I populate all of the analytics of like,
The product analytics.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I found my trends. And there's always ones that surprise me, but
Yeah.
there are like, consistent sellers on Etsy that are just amazing, like different types of niches that they just did a design a little bit differently and they just hit the market so well. Like I recently looked at Christmas, like family Christmas t-shirts. I found one listing that just has Santa hats and names underneath it. And like, anyone can create these designs,
Yeah.
but they just put that different spin on something that we know sells. And it's like it's not really like a trend, but it's something that anyone can kind of do in their own way. So
yeah, with or without EVERBEE, like the Etsy search has always been my friend. Like even before EVERBEE existed, I would do the same thing. I would go to the Etsy search and just start typing in random words, and then the drop down will tell you what's currently being searched on Etsy. And then, like you said, now that EVERBEE exists, we can actually see next to those keywords how many searches these keywords are getting. So it's just like an added bonus without us having to do the guesswork. Awesome strategy. Thank you. Did you have any specific marketing strategies or tactics that were successful for you? Like were you advertising off of the platform anywhere, or driving traffic to your store from other places?
Yeah, I used Facebook groups in my initial store. So it's kind of funny because when I began with my first Etsy store, I wanted to do my second Etsy store completely differently as far as marketing goes. For my first Etsy store, I leaned into organic traffic methods and social media. So I joined Facebook groups. I asked the admins, hey, can I market my shop? And I didn't say it exactly like that. Not necessarily, hey, can I market my shop? But I said, hey, can I offer a incentive to the people in this group for purchasing from my small business? I very much appreciate anyone who supports my small business in sharing this shop in your group. And I had a lot of people shoot me down, but there was a few that told me yes. And then I followed up and asked them, hey, can I post once a month then at the least? Or, one person just said, you can post every week. And I was like, okay, done.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I posted in those groups. It shot up, it rocketed or skyrocketed my sales to the point I was getting over 10 orders a day. That was my new plateau from doing that. Then after that, it went to 20 sales a day. And it was like that for 2 years from just initially getting that traction. But with the new shop, now I use Etsy ads, and I am on social media with the new shop, but I'm starting a new Instagram and Pinterest account. So I'm waiting for that to kind of build up. But that's kind of my separate strategies, and I'm using more heavily in email marketing with that one too. So
nice. Awesome. Yeah, that's like super interesting to me. I need to go to your channel and watch those specific videos that you make on that, because that's the one thing I didn't get into was marketing my shop off of Etsy. So super valuable information. Do you feel that like driving the traffic from elsewhere kind of helped boost your Etsy shop quicker than it would have?
Yes. I think that doing the social media is that was kind of my in, because I know we discussed on my channel that you said that you've done thousands of listings, which that's what I was going to do. Like that was my
Mhm.
strategy. I was like, okay, I'm going to hit like 1,000 in 6 months if I keep at this pace. And since I posted on social media, I started seeing the sale volume. That was my sale volume I needed to quit my 9 to 5, that I was just like,
Right.
okay, I don't need, 1,000, but I would have done that if that
Yeah.
was my main strategy. But after that Facebook group method really worked for me, I
Yeah.
realized that, hey, maybe I could just do a few hundred listings. And that's what I kept it at. I think my store ended up having 500 listings in total. That was like the most it's ever had. And
Mhm.
it's just from those Facebook groups, and it just kept
Amazing.
going. Yeah.
That's
So,
great. That's great. Okay, so power in Facebook groups. Can you share any challenges that you ran into along your print on demand journey and how you overcame them?
oh my gosh. I don't know if you were selling the same at this time and this point in time, but you'll know what I'm talking about if you were in apparel. So the Sand Gildan 18,000 went out of stock. Yep.
Yes.
For context, for anyone watching this video that's starting now, just to fill you in, the Gildan 18,000 crew neck sweatshirt, I believe in 2020, they went out of stock of the sports gray sweatshirt. And then the following year in
Yeah.
2021, color sand went out of stock.
Mhm.
So this was probably one of the most difficult situations I had been to. And I'm really actually happy it happened, because this was the turning point in my life where I realized I could not do Etsy and my full-time job. And I had to make the decision between the two because my customer service was too chaotic. I remember
Yeah.
I woke up one morning and I got the out of stock message from Printify, and it was all print on demand companies,
Gut
not just one.
wrenching.
Yes, they were all using the same suppliers. It was the suppliers that were out of stock too at the
Mm.
time of the Sand Gildan 18,000 crew neck sweatshirt. And I just remember, oh crap, we have to pivot. Like this is the pivoting moment. And
Yeah.
that's when I started selling the ash colored sweatshirt instead, because that was the only thing in stock. And that even went out of stock,
Yeah.
I think a month or two later. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, oh my goodness. And so that whole situation happened. And during that time, the way that I overcame it was, first of all, I always offered to exchange, and I tried to pivot with a different color option. So I would be like, oh, sorry, we're out of stock of the sand. Can I offer you the sports gray, the light pink, the light blue? And surprisingly, a lot of people wanted to do the light pink or light blue, which I was very
Yeah.
caught off guard by. But then during that time, I decided to make a design that didn't rely on color ash, sports gray, or Gildan. I ended up creating a design that could work on a white Gildan 18,000 sweatshirt, which was a super colorful design. And that ended up becoming my next bestseller. So a few magical things happened out of that whole situation that I'm so
Yeah.
grateful happened, because I, first of all, I went down to part time at my job in healthcare. And then also on top of that, I found my next best selling item that made me like over $5,000 in
Yeah.
that time alone, which was really cool.
Great advice that has come from that problem that you had. My last question is, what advice would you give to individuals who are considering starting their own print on demand Etsy shop?
I feel like now I'm trying to think, because I feel like I put you on the spot on my channel. By the
Yeah.
way, if anyone hasn't watched that, definitely check it out, because Jenny dropped so many golden nuggets there, and it was so beautiful just
Yeah,
hearing your
I'll link
story.
that in the
Yeah.
description below as well, so they can head over there.
The first tip I would give is just looking internally and asking yourself what's stopping you from starting today. So that's kind of what you said on
I like
my
that.
channel. Yeah, I stole that one from you. Sorry, Jenny.
You had a little spin on it. You had a little
Yeah.
spin on
Yeah, but like what is, any viewer that's watching, what's stopping you from starting today or this next week? Maybe there's questions unanswered, and it's good to seek out those answers if that's what's holding you back right now. because even looking back at my story, it's like, oh my gosh, if I had kept my shop open, if I had started a year earlier, that's what I always think. But I always hear, I always hear the saying now. I heard it once on a podcast that the best time to start was yesterday, but the second best time to start is today. So
Yeah.
that's something to think about for those of you watching.
Yeah.
And the second thing I would suggest is to go outside of your comfort zone, whether that be in niches, product types, things that are untapped areas that you've never even tried before. It really can't hurt to try as far as Etsy and print on demand goes. Sure, there is, if you're paying for mockups and the expenses, the initial startup fees of starting this type of business model, you're looking at probably, $25 to $50 to $100, depending on what you're comfortable with as far as the budget goes. I know listing fees, if you're uploading 20 or 100 listings, that's going to be around $20. But even that, if you compare it to a brick and mortar businesses are thousands and thousands of dollars to start off. And that's what I told myself in the beginning is, okay, if I just kind of stop getting Chipotle every day and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and put that money towards, something a little bit more lucrative for me, then maybe later I can afford more Chipotle. And
And now
this,
you can.
yeah.
It's on
So,
its way.
yep. So, and it's funny because today I ordered Chipotle before this for my lunch. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy that, this magical moment now happens that I can order Chipotle. Like, and I feel guilty about like the delivery fee, but that's something that I made that decision 2.5 years ago to stop buying Chipotle as much. So maybe later I could buy
And
Chipotle
now
more.
you can.
Yeah.
This is not an ad for Chipotle.
Yeah. No, Chipotle, if you can sponsor this video though, that would be great. The third tip I have is to double down on what is selling and what is working. Jenny said this on my channel. Again, I'm stealing another one from her.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
But just double down on what's working. It's if you have one design that's popping off, it's selling, going back to earlier in this conversation, if there are different products that you can put that design on, then
Yeah.
100% scale that out. That's what we're talking about when we're saying double down on what's working, because it really, that's how I scaled my business. Jenny, I'm not sure if you had kind of the similar thing where you
Yeah.
started scaling. Yeah. And that's kind of the easiest way to scale. I feel like that's kind of the maybe secret sauce that I've said. It's not necessarily so secret, but we say it in these interviews and it really does work. So that's about it.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a tip that like people need to be reminded of. Like I know I had to be reminded of that. It wasn't until like a year and a half in that I was finally like, okay, I have these bestsellers. Let me put this design on other products, or let me make similar designs to this and just scale it out. And it truly works. It really does. You will grow your shop so much faster if you just focus on what's selling already. And like, I know that's hard because we all have running lists of ideas of things we want to design for and niches we want to get into, but like just focus on the money, like follow the money and build what's already working. And thank you, Heather, so much for being here today, guys. I'm just starstruck having Heather on my channel. I love Heather so much. We've become really great friends this past year, and I'm just so blessed to have someone like Heather in my life and bounce print on demand ideas off of one another. And if you're not following her already, which I'm sure most of you that are here already follow Heather, but if you're not, I'm going to put her channel in the description below. So go follow her, watch all of her tips, watch her start this new print on demand shop. And Heather, thanks so much. It was so fun having you on the channel today.
Yeah, thanks for having me as well, Jenny.